In a museum in Chicago lies a skeleton named Sue. It's the most complete Tyrannosaurus Rex fossil ever uncovered. For pretty much anyone over the age of 3, even the skeleton of a T-Rex is instantly recognizable. The impossibly large frame, imposing teeth, and sharp claws all paint a picture of how fearsome this predator once was. And if you've seen any sort of movie or TV depictions of dinosaurs, you can pretty easily close your eyes and let those depictions take form in your mind in place of the skeletal remains. As I played, died, and revived in the early access build of Hyperlight Breaker, I also felt like I could close my eyes and visualize what this game can be, and hopefully will be, with all its muscles and connective tissue in place. But for now, I'm left admiring a skeleton, a framework for something greater. Conceptually, I really like the world Heart Machine has built. As the game opens, we're told a malevolent entity dubbed the Abyss King rules over an area of the world called the Overgrowth. As a breaker, your mission is to seek out the prisms needed to challenge and defeat the King's 3 crowns before taking the fight to the King himself. Stay in the Overgrowth too long or run out of resurrections, and the world will be remade along with his crowns, putting you right back where you started, with some exceptions. Additionally, Hyperlight Breaker keeps the same impressive visual style as the original game, albeit translated into a fully 3D open world. The worlds I explored always had 3 regions with distinct colorful landscapes to take in. I'm not sure how drastically this world design might change as you progress, because I've not made any progress. I have yet to be able to unlock even one path to fight a crown, let alone hunt down all 3. The map is dotted with the locations with the prisms, the crowns themselves, materials, and weapons. I fought my way to my fair share of materials and weapons, but even after 12 attempts across 3 worlds, I was never able to obtain a single prism. There are a couple of reasons for this. One map showed me a prism with a downward arrow, which I logically assumed meant it was in that area but below my current elevation. But it was in the middle of a field, and no nearby areas of water showed any paths underneath. So even following the map isn't a sure bet. And on one occasion, I think I defeated the enemy holding the prism by bravely letting it drown itself, but since you can't swim, I never recover the prism. The vast majority of the time, I get to the area where a prism is supposed to be and get absolutely obliterated by the enemies lying in wait. This is because the combat is brutal. It took me a minute to get used to the rhythm of it, but even then, getting surrounded on all sides is a frequent occurrence. There is a parry system that recovers an iota of your health, but that doesn't mean much when even basic enemies pack a serious punch. On my very first venture into the Overgrowth, I had hardly explored past the elevator before running into a pack of 5 enemies, leaving me with only 8 HP after the dust settled. Needless to say, I did not survive the second group of enemies I encountered, meaning this first attempt lasted barely 3 minutes. The early game tutorial for basic controls mentions using up on the D-pad to heal. There's also a button prompt on your HUD, and finding shrines shows a grayed out option to replenish medkits, but you start with 0 and it's never explained how to get these mysterious items. Don't worry, I'll go ahead and give you the answer. After the final death on my 3rd world, so my 12th death overall, I reported back to my commanding officer, which made some numbers go up, and I was rewarded with a golden ration. I then used that golden ration to upgrade the number of medkits I could carry before heading back into the reshifted Overgrowth, with my medkit still at 0. As it turns out, you need to collect the metagems that grow sporadically around the area, then go to a shrine, then trade in 5 of them just to make 1 medkit. So for those keeping track, I had to do 12 expeditions into the Overgrowth before unlocking the ability to hunt down resources that would allow me to make a medkit, none of which was actually explained to me unless you count a medigem conversion box that popped up with no other context after I obtained that upgrade. In a game with combat this challenging, I really hope fixing this system is priority number 1 for the updates from the developer. This speaks to a larger problem within Hyperlight Breaker as well, the tutorials. There aren't nearly enough of them, and despite reading over them as they popped up and putting close to 2 hours into the gameplay loop, I still barely understand what I'm doing or how I'm supposed to be doing it. The combat isn't as fluid as you'd hope for a gameplay loop so reliant on it. I would just change my class to a different breaker, but I have no idea how I'm supposed to unlock new breakers either. There are others whose appearance I'm able to see, but unlocking them requires some item whose icon I don't recognize. In other words, I can't even change up my approach to see if a different build clicks with me. I'm stuck with the same breaker I have no success with. And in a roguelike where changing your approach is the key to success, limiting those choices can be a hyper deal breaker. As I come away from my time with this early access build, I can clearly see the skeleton on display. The systems that are in place show the framework for something with great potential. Between the visual style and the procedurally generated nature of the Overgrowth, I can't help but think of No Man's Sky. And with some improvements during this early access period, I'm optimistic we can have a user experience closer to No Man's Sky in 2025, and less like No Man's Sky in 2016. I want to give a huge thank you to Arc Games and Keymailer for providing the review code for this game. How are you enjoying Hyper Light Breaker? Let me know in the comments. And as always, play what you love and love what you play.